Hi, I want to talk about something super fun. Do you ever wonder why the East Coast feels different than the West Coast? So a lot of people on the West Coast assume I'm from the West Coast, but when I really talk to somebody, they're like, oh my God, this girl's obviously from the East Coast. And the East Coast people think I'm from the West Coast, right? So this is what I want to talk about as far as densification, space, and geography. So space holds density of stories in the collective. Space holds the stories that existed within them from the density of the collective. So your house has a story. It has a densified space, and you might sometimes see an imprint of that space, and maybe you would call that a ghost. Maybe it is a ghost, but there is imprints in your physical space based on the trails of energetics that you leave and that have been left before, and that, you know, our grandparents have left us in eons and eons. The thing about the West Coast is it's very, very Jurassic, and it's very historic in the natural sense. But the East Coast is very historic in the human collective sense. So to even come to where we have come as a society living in the United States, all of the wars happened on the East Coast, and all of the riots originally, all of the things that really freed people into becoming what they are, started with a war that happened on the East Coast. And when you're living in the density of those places, those stories, it feels very different than when you go out in the natural world in the redwoods and you feel creator just hasn't created with the human collective so densely yet, right? So, and let's hope it never happens, so we have those places to go to. But it is funny because different places have different geographic resonances because of the collective stories. So it's going to make sense that you're going to want to be in a place that feels like the program of the collective story that you have in your mind, right? So a lot of people will say like, oh, you know, you're more real because you're from the East Coast, and that's obvious. And some chick told me that where she lives, she doesn't like it because she can't tell who likes her or not because everybody's so nice. And I was like, please, I would like that. Like, she's like, it feels fake. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just not. Like, I would like that. But the interesting thing is that the geographic resonance of spaces kind of determines your personality, especially if you're an empath and you are feeling the collective, the density of the space. So I just wanted to pop on here and say that today because it's a fun thing to talk about and people like when I bring it up. But yeah, the West Coast, it hasn't had as heavy of densified war stories that have seeped into the geographic space. So it feels really good to be out there, right? Because it's just like pure potential to create a new story. But out here, it's like the stories that we have not yet dissolved are still lingering in the air, and we're walking through them on a daily basis. So as an empath, it's up to us to recognize that, especially if you're on the East Coast. Like, shit, I have people that live in New York City. I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I live in a city that's big enough. That's crazy. So if you are aware that you're walking through and you're slicing through by source, the source that is in you, you're slicing through the density of an old story that's based in war and poverty and division, you have a whole different kingdom assignment, recognizing that, right? So the spaces feel different because of the density and the not war stories out there. So let's kind of get back in our natural spiritual state, just like the redwoods are, and walk through this. You know, if you're on the East Coast or you're in a place that's torn like that, walk through the story in a natural state instead of the collective war-torn state. All right, bye.